quite ironic yet again when you're trying to move on, because obviously you can't keep talking about Chris Watts, but just something comes up to remind you. Dr. Phil. This is one of Dr. Phil's days. He's talking to this man who's been married to this woman for years, but has been having an affair with this woman almost as many, well, about 11 years of their marriage. He's been having an on-off affair with this woman and had children with her. The husband who cheated feels that he's basically going off a cliff. It's all come to a head. But in this programme, Dr. Phil doesn't think he's still telling the truth enough, that he'll go away for so many weeks, therapy, and then they'll give the wife an honest opinion to whether this person is really sorry and feels that they can be faithful to one person. During this episode, he still feels that the man's mannerisms and everything he's doing, he's fighting, changing. What he says in this video is that the man having an affair would make elaborate excuses to the wife and elaborate excuses to the girlfriend. He made great big excuses to both of them. He needed to keep his girlfriend at arm's length, and he needed to keep his wife at arm's length. He wanted to have two lives. He wanted to keep that life there and the other life over there. In the meantime of having a wife and a girlfriend who he had children or a child with, he then also met about 8 other women and was having off-on affairs with them as well. He reckons that he's got here because it was all to do with his pride, to do with the game, and he feels that the game is kind of over. He doesn't believe the man is levelling up with his wife yet on this programme, but the one thing he says is that he feels that this person is extremely immature, and being very immature, they don't carry empathy for anybody else. So he doesn't have any impact for what the other person feels, what the wife feels, or what the girlfriend feels. There's no impact of what it all means. So on watching that, it just brought back the Chris Watts case. That he was a fantasist, and he had no intention of leaving his wife. He wanted both their lives. He wanted a high sex drive over there, and then he wanted the family and the wife. So I just don't know what happened for him to flip that night when Shanann got back. We know through discovery that he was on the phone for most of Sunday night to someone else. And it seems that, according to being a narcissist, it says, don't call a narcissist out, or they will get you, basically. And all I can think of is that she knew on her way home that he must be having an affair now, because something's really wrong. Her and her friends were talking. She knew because of the price of the meal he'd spent, and with all the other things, because he was so good at lying and so good at concealing, and she loved him, married to him. She was going to believe, oh no, it's this, and he tried to convince her that it was so many other things. Don't forget, she's now 15 weeks pregnant, so why would she want to believe all the bad things? She didn't want to lose her life or her house or anything. And then, obviously that meal, she knew she was going home to confront him. And so the game was up, really, wasn't it? Because he still wouldn't, maybe, he said the police thing, but he was lying all the time. Oh no, I just wanted to conceal, I wouldn't tell her the truth, I was having an affair. But maybe that's the bit where it starts after that, when she comes home and she wants to tell him, look, I know there's something wrong. Either I'm going or you sort it out. And maybe it's a bit strange because the power seems to be all for the person who's in control. Yeah, they have control of everything. So it doesn't matter what the other person thinks. That person could be going, I love you, I love you, I love it. It doesn't make any difference if this person's in control. But she must have changed the control when she came home and said she's basically something like, I've had enough, you're having an affair, and I'm leaving with the children in the morning. And with this whole attention towards someone else and everything else that was happening there, he must have just flipped. He had to have just flipped and done it and carried on doing it. Because he covered everything up so badly, so it couldn't have necessarily been that premeditated. Maybe he'd had ideas about it, but it couldn't have been that premeditated, because otherwise he would have sorted things out. He'd have everything planned out so that nothing would fall out of place. And right from when he's taken the bodies, basically the girlfriend of hers has got involved, and it starts not working out from that minute on. I mean, I don't mean to give him anything back, but he was wearing 2 Thrive patches. Maybe they were attacking him and his sexualness. You know, it was making him much, much, much more aggressive sexually. And living in the fantasist that he is, he obviously didn't think about the next move, the next stage, the next anything. Wham! Because he definitely got her from behind, and maybe she was in so much shock. Those few seconds were, what is he doing to... That's it. They said the kind of lock he got her in made her unconscious. What I sort of remember them saying basically was that when he got her the way he did, maybe in seconds she was unconscious, so maybe she didn't really... It was such a shock, she didn't have time to retaliate. And then maybe once he started, he carried on, or maybe he'd already started and she was the last one. We'll never really know that bit. But I just think that, you know, he was talking to this other person all night. So where was the planning? Where was the doing? So it must have happened after 2 o'clock when she got back, the whole thing. And as I see, you know, things are being carried out. In the other footages I've done, there's somebody else there, and somebody else is being carried out, or something else is happening there. It's just so sad, isn't it? So basically, a narcissist who is a fantasist, who wants 2 lives, and Shanann was ruining half of it for him by probably saying that she was leaving. And don't forget, he was very much into image, wasn't he? The bodybuilding, the clothes, the house, the car, and something else that I just wanted to say as well. It's in the discovery that about April, she did actually sort of bump into a solicitor and ask them what the divorce laws are for Colorado, and she asked quite a few questions. So in April she must have known that something wasn't quite right. And then, you know, you never end anything straight away. She might have known, she might have just wanted to find out. Maybe things weren't working out for her the way she wanted, or maybe she just thought she'd ask, and then basically, you know, so many weeks later she's pregnant anyway, and maybe she had to change her mind about going, but she'd already looked all that stuff up. And some say in some of the videos that she was already looking for other accommodation when she went home to see her parents. And actually on that last bit of trip, I think when he'd come to see her for the last week, she was actually saying she was worried about going back with him because he didn't want the baby. That bit I just find so... I was just thinking, if it was me and this person who I love has been lying and doing things behind my back for a long time, because once you cheat, you're going to be lying all through your teeth the whole time. You obviously don't care about that person or respect them. You've broken the golden rule. You've cheated on them. You know, a very personal thing with a person you've given to someone else. And he didn't care who he gave it to, did he? I don't mean that horribly to the people he picked. I just mean him. I'm talking about him. He didn't care about the people he was even having affairs with. He didn't care about them at all. He even gave them the same stories. I've never met anyone like you before. I've never been comfortable like this. I've never loved anybody like this before. So he's prepared to say all these things to people he had no intention of staying with. So, yeah. Incredible, isn't it, really? We're with the police officer's cam outside his house. He had 2 garages on his house. There's garage number 2.
Back here. Yeah.
And that's garage number 1. Now the neighbour's footage didn't show a gap and then the car. So basically, he has backed up to this garage. And in this garage, isn't that where Shanann's car is? There's Shanann's car. From this video, everybody's reckoning that he's taking a phone call from his girlfriend. But there's Shanann's car. So it's that footage there, isn't it? It's coming straight across here, and there's that horrible bush. So he couldn't get the car in very far, the truck in very far, because Shanann's car was in there. So I just wanted that noted. He was on this drive here, not this drive. He was on the first drive. Nearest that police officer there. He could never have got the truck in because Shanann's car was there. And I keep going on about this bit about a fantasist, but a fantasist is someone who constantly tells lies about their life and achievements in order to make them sound more exciting than they are. Basically, they want the make-believe world where they are the only attention. They spare no effort to convert their virtual world into reality. Living in fantasy is a sign of poor mental health. Another definition is someone who often has fantasies. They confuse fantasy and what is real. So basically, he was living in a delusional world with a delusional disorder. And a delusional disorder is called paranoid disorder. It's where this person has a mental illness in which they cannot tell what is real from what. They live inside an imagination. Sounds like him, doesn't it? Anyway, we can go on, but being a fantasist was his downfall, and the downfall of everybody in his family. The reality was he was married, he had 2 children and 1 on the way, and the rest was his fantasy. Anyway, he won't have one now. Well, I suppose he can have as many as he likes in where he is. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. What do you think?